You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. We talk with adventurers from around the globe to give you the inspiration you need to get started in the outdoors or keep moving if you're already there. Now here's your host, Kurt Linville.
Hello everyone and Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. It is New Year's Eve and I'm looking forward to sending off 2025 in style and welcoming 2026. What a year. 2025 was pretty darn good, you have to admit. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been much worse. So I appreciate 2025 for what it had to offer, and I wish you the happiest new year and have a safe and joyful and fun celebration. And now, here is today's episode. Hey friends, thanks for joining the Adventure Sports Podcast again today. This is going to be a real kind of a cool one. Sometimes we talk to someone about a sport or an adventure, a trip that they did, but we're going to have a longer arc to this one. I'm talking today to Tom Kubiniec, and I want to talk about his life of having an adventurous life and maybe a life that is a little unexpected, a little less off the beaten path, but it really worked out for him. And Tom Kubiniec started out right out of high school as a guitarist for heavy metal bands and toured around doing that for a while. And then he got into mountaineering and he did that for a while. And he's most recently working on setting a land speed record at the Bonneville Salt Flats. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. He also is an entrepreneur, started his own company, has been successful with that. So lots to talk about. Tom, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to the conversation. Always good to talk about outdoors and adventure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been such a huge part of my life, and I think the lives of our listeners too. And it's just been such a fun time to get to visit with fantastic people, Tom, about all the things that they do. But I think we need to start with the heavy metal bit, even though that's off topic a little bit, but people are going to say, what? So did you end up going to college, or did you just high school, heavy metal, keep moving on with your life?
I don't learn in a classroom setting.
Okay.
I got good grades in high school, but I hated it. So I was playing guitar when I graduated high school, about 4 to 6 hours a day. And then once I graduated, I got obsessed with it. And I was playing in local bands. This is out of Buffalo, Rochester, New York area.
Okay.
And did that for several years and just really practicing. And then in 1984, Guitar Player magazine, which was the magazine of the day, did an article on me as one of the best unknown guitar players. I'd sent a demo tape to a guy, and they ended up doing an article on me in that magazine. And all of a sudden, my phone was lighting up, and all sorts of stuff was happening. At a time when my parents were about ready to kick me out of the house, and what you're wasting your life kind of a thing going on. I packed up and moved to Los Angeles, lived in Hollywood, and the goal was to be the next guitar player with Ozzy or one of the big bands. I played with a lot of cool people, but I developed tendonitis in my arms.
Oh, no.
Right at the moment where I thought my career was going to take off, it was just, rug was pulled out. And that was a big hit at that point. So I kind of soul searched for a little bit, but I had to make money. Took a job telemarketing, typewriter and printer ribbons because they'd hire anybody. And I was horrible at it, but the guy liked me. He moved me to a non-sales position, but that was I thought that as a dead end. So I quit and took a straight commission job for another company, doing basically the same thing, telemarketing, computer supplies. And instead of practicing guitar 6-8 hours a day, I immersed myself in the world of sales, just all day. Books, tapes, back then it was cassettes. And it took about a year and a half, 2 years to become modestly good at sales. I quit and started my first company in an apartment in Panorama City, really bad neighborhood in Los Angeles. But that's what we could afford. Over the night, built that company up to 20 sales reps, sold it 3 years later, started another company doing the same thing, built that up, and got into laptop storage when the HIPAA laws came out, and then a kind of a fluke phone call. A guy called me and said, "Hey, can you store an MP5? I'm like, "Sure," thinking it's a computer. I said, "What's an MP5? And he said, "It's a small submachine gun." He was with the FBI. That was in 2002. I got fascinated with firearm storage. I'd never owned a gun at that point, but we started pursuing it and worked as a dealer for another company where we were giving them a lot of input. And in 2008, I designed and patented the secure tactical weapon storage platform, what we simply call Cradle Grid now. And by 2011, we were the primary supplier to the U.S. military. And I was considered the leading authority in small arms storage armory design. And for many years, I've traveled all over the world designing and building weapon storage systems.
So here's a couple of questions regarding entrepreneurship and sales. And you'd never set out to start with an arms storage focus. That wasn't what you started out to. You were just moving through life and saw opportunities as they came. And sometimes I have to tell people, we don't know what's going to happen when we go and we start and we learn and we interact with people and we meet. And it's the same way with adventure sports. If you stay home, nothing ever happens. But if you go, doors start to open. And you didn't go to college. So, you jumped out of high school. You decided to be the heavy metal guitar guy. But that led to what people would consider to be quite a successful life. Has it been a pleasing life? Are you glad that you chose the path you did?
Absolutely. It's I really like a high level of randomness in my day and in my life. I could never sit and work at a job where you come in and you're processing the same thing every day. I like the fact that I go in every day and I don't know what's going to happen. That randomness of, I call it the randomness of possibility. Every day I go in, we have the opportunity to get the biggest order in the history of the company, or to uncover something, or to develop a new product, or it's hard to put into words sometimes. I look at, in business, creativity is what separates winners from losers. Not ethics, not work ethic, not how hard you try. It's harnessing creativity. And when you look at I look at outdoor sports and outdoor activities as we pursue these things because we love them, but it's how you clear your head of all the noise, all the
for sure.
I use the term single point focus, and some people will never experience it. Most athletes will, and that's that. Rock climbing is a great example, because you can have a lot going on in your life. Once you're on the mountain and you're climbing, you're on your third pitch, if you're getting some altitude, you are so single point focused, you've forgotten everything about your life except what's required for the next move. And you're so down to just the nuance of, all I'm focusing on is these three fingertips here, my toe here. I got 3 points of contact. I'm going to roll. And you're so. And achieving that, even in a big climb, you achieve that hyper focus for just minutes at a time. It's very fleeting, but when you can do it, it's I don't know. There's something magic about it. It's like you're stopping time.
Yeah, people call
it
being in the zone. You get so absorbed
with something. I'm a big believer that we have so much more capacity than we're using. And there's times like that. A great example of single point of how far you can go with focus. I raced cars all through the 90s. I raced an RX-7 with SCCA. It was a spec class, so all the cars, same engine, same everything. And it came down to driver skill. And on a racetrack, it's not, white knuckle, hold on as fast as you can drive. Driving quickly is all about creating a pattern that you can replicate every lap, where it's, okay, this is my brake point, this is my turning point, accelerate, next turn, brake point, turn point, exit point. And you're picking these points and you're building this roadmap of the track. And when you're racing, it's about hitting those marks. And I found myself it was a race I ended up winning. And during the race down the main straightaway, it wasn't a long straight, our top speed was probably 85 miles an hour. But my turning point, because after the end of the race, I'd finish. I always sit in the car and just go through the race, about a 20-minute race. I just go through it in my head, replay everything that kind of happened, things I did wrong, things I did really well as a learning point. I'm going through it in my head, and I realized coming down the straightaway in the back, during the race, you keep moving those turn points to get as much straightaway as you can. My turning point for turn one at 80, or a braking point at turn one, about 85 miles an hour, was a drop of oil on the track. I remember going, and you go on a freeway driving 60 miles an hour, you can't see a drop of oil on the road.
You don't see a drop of on the track.
But in that level of focus, I'm just boom, I'm hitting these things. I'm saying, because you come into a turn, if you brake point and you realize, wow, I could have gone faster. So you move your brake point up 5 feet. Now you're braking, but now you're going a little quicker because you don't have time to brake. And it's that kind of you drive yourself to that level of focus and that level of achievement, and like a world opens up, or it just compresses down to this tiny narrow band. but it's like time stops and it's just,
Yes.
it's all slow motion. The same thing happens if you've ever been in a car accident. There's a moment where a guy pulled out in front of my wife and I. It was a hard hit. And he pulled, I don't know if he even touched the brakes, but in that half a second, it feels like 20 minutes went by because I'm just like, it's like, we're going to hit. And I'm sitting looking at this big panel van going, don't hit the wheel. It's hard. Go for the soft. So I turned the car to try to miss his wheel and hit the side. And just things you're going through. And then we hit, the car went up in the air. But everything, all of that was like such slow motion. It happened in a tenth of a second. But I processed, make sure I want her to hit the windshield. You're going through all this stuff in your head that I realized afterwards saying, I had time to think about a lot.
Isn't that something?
And it happened in a tenth of a second. So but then again, that's hyper focus.
Tom, I want to make a couple of points. One is when you're doom scrolling on your phone, then it numbs you out and there's no hyper focus and it just turns into hypnosis is what it turns into. And it's also they can sell you stuff. But I just want to contrast that with what you just described. And most people these days find themselves spending so much of their energy on the phone instead of experiencing life in a way that can just really open up so many crazy possibilities. It just seems like such a loss because that being in the flow, being in the zone, being present in the current moment, we get that from adventure sports. We get that from other aspects of life. But anything that requires that kind of hyper focus, I think is so healthy. And we can surprise ourselves with what can be achieved in those moments. And so you already attributed your success in business to the ability to do that. And you got that partially from adventure sport?
I'm sorry?
Did you get that from adventure sports in part?
I think adventure sports, the things I like, really getting out and doing these things is more about getting away from. That's my escape. That's how I basically... you're working, I'm in a business, I'm working on a company, and all these things are happening. I've got all these perceptions of what's this, what's that, and things are stressful now. All these different things are happening. It's very complex. And then you go out and rock climb, and your whole world just blows up and disappears. And when you're done climbing, you come back, you take a shower. Now you come back the following morning, and your slate is clean.
Your head is clear.
All of the crap that had built up from the previous day is just gone.
Right.
It's still there, but it's no longer clogging. It's not clogging your brain. You can choose to upload all this stuff again and think about all of it. Or you can say, let's just focus on this one piece. Let's just focus on something that's past the problem I'm dealing with. Let's focus on that, because I get there, the problem no longer exists. But it's just, people use the term a clarity break. I've heard that before, like in modern business. I need a clarity break. For some of us, a clarity break is 400 feet of rock, or is doing something. I find just a walk in a mature forest changes your mood, changes your day. There's no scientific studies, I don't think, but there's an energy transfer or something. We've got our hunting ranch. I go up there and spend as much time as I can. Not always adventure sports. Sometimes I'm just driving a tractor, or working on a trail. Being in raw nature like that, away from everything. It's just you can't not be happy. You can't be miserable in that environment. But we've created. You talked about doom scrolling. Kids sitting. You spend an hour in the morning flipping through your phone. That's an hour you're never going to get back. Yeah, and you accomplished nothing. But adventure sports gives you an incredible hit of adrenaline, of dopamine. There's all these things that we find pleasure in that, they call them adrenaline junkies, all these things. But problem I see with a lot of the modern tech, I even see it in our food supply, is they're scientifically engineering all these things to give you the same dopamine hit, the same adrenaline rush that you'd get if you're out engaged in a truly wild adventure sport.
Yeah, but
they're getting really good at it. And I know a lot of people who they should be outside doing stuff, and then all of a sudden, an hour and a half goes by, and you're just sitting on the phone flipping through pictures or flipping through reels.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Let's go back to what you mentioned when you said that you got really focused on learning how to do sales. And the reason I want to say this, I've interviewed so many people who are trying to make a business out of the adventure sport that they love. And so they need to be able to sell whatever it is that they're offering to be successful and to make that lifestyle work. And I think a lot of people in our audience are probably like, boy, that'd be great. I'd like to be able to travel full time while I earn money, or I would like to be able to focus on my climbing and somehow support myself. And you know where all of this leads. But the bottom line is, if you can't sell what you're offering, you're probably not going to do very well at it. So how did that play out in your own life? First of all, how did you learn how to sell? And then, how can you make that work for you to benefit others?
Micro level work it was the term I would use. I learned how to sell. I was telemarketing, and I knew I wasn't very good at sales, but I was learning. So I couldn't outsell the guys who are good, but I could make more calls. The average guy in the organization that I worked for, who had a lot of accounts and they were doing repeat sales, they were making 40 to 60 calls a day. I was making 160 to 200 calls a day.
Wow.
So I just volumed it out. But also that gave me a lot of personal experience. I mean, I'm making all those calls day in, day out, thousands of calls. Each call, you learn something. You pick up experience. But to get back to your original question and trying to turn if you're trying to turn a sport you love into a living, people always think macro, like I'm going to do this. I'll have this company. I'm going to do this. I make money. This is what I want to do. Take it down to a micro level. If you're doing something, a sport, and you want to try to make money at it, then at a very, very small level, find a way to have somebody give you, just even pay you a tiny bit of money to do something. Because if you can't convert it at a micro level, don't spend your time at a macro level. It won't work. It has to, that's I always say is Secure sells, we do millions and millions of dollars in business a year in what I do. But it all traces back to my ability to walk in and get one person to buy my product, which I can do. And that's really, you gotta stay micro level. You, the entrepreneur, or you, the adventure sports guy, can you get one person to pay you as a guide once? Can you do that? If you can't, if that's what your goal is, I'm using guiding as an example. If you can't get one person to pay you, don't create a business. But if you can, then get another one, and then get another one. And each time you get one, you're learning different things. And then you got 15, 20 people who have paid you. Now say, okay, all these people have this in common. Now your marketing plan almost will fall into this lap of who these people are. How do I talk to more of them? Now you can do, between AI tools and using the internet properly for research, you can dig into now ways to expand what you've done at a micro level. But you can't walk into a business saying, I want to be a guide, so I'm going to open up a company and spend all this money on marketing and advertising and get people to pay me to guide. No, get one person. If you can't operate at a micro level, it will never work at a macro level.
Okay, question for you, Tom.
Yeah.
I've heard it said that you have to try something long enough until you figure out if it works or not. And one example is people will say, well, I'm going to try this. They try 50 times, which sounds like a big number to a lot of people, and they don't get a sale, or they don't close a deal, or they don't get the customer, and they're like, well, it doesn't work. But if they kept going till they got their first customer, maybe that's 100 times, then they could say, why did I get that customer? And how many more times do I need to do this to get my second customer? Maybe it's not 100 now that I learned from the one. Or maybe I can make a business where it's okay to get only one customer per 100 contacts. I can develop a business around that ratio. But what are your thoughts about that?
That's kind of the digital world. It's a tough one because there's effort and there's actual knowledge or experience. There's these different things that come together, and unbelievable effort can overcome a lot of inexperience and a lot of things. But this still doesn't mean a bad idea is still a bad idea. And a good idea is still a good idea.
How do you tell the difference?
Well, I think it's checking your ego at the door. Like I always tell, like I'm the owner of the company, I'm the CEO, and it's easy to get people to say yes to me because they want to. So I'm very big about hiring people and telling people, look, when we sit down and talk about this, we're all equal. And you need to, if you think I'm wrong, you got to tell me I'm wrong. I was telling, look, in a vacuum, I'm going really fast in the direction I want to go. Problem is I make mistakes. And I need you guys, if you think I'm making a mistake, hit me in the face with it and say, look, Tom, you're wrong. Because then I'll listen and we'll say, okay, you're right. Let's adjust. And I think even people looking at starting at a small level, this level, you got to be able to assess the results you're getting or not getting. And if you're not getting results, then you got to say, okay, well, am I making enough call? I'm putting a lot of effort in. Okay, so it's not effort. Then what is it? Is it the information you're using. Okay, try a couple different branding messages. If that's not working, then you need to move on to something else.
Gotcha. You haven't found the need yet.
I'm sorry?
Maybe you haven't found the need yet, the need that you're trying to solve.
It's possible. It's also, people who want to be an entrepreneur. I say there's entrepreneurs and there's wantrepreneur. A wantrepreneur wants to be an entrepreneur, but they're not. And it's not, you can't learn it, because the difference between a true entrepreneur and a non-entrepreneur is risk tolerance. The ability to running a business, right? When I was running my telemarketing business before the internet, you'd wait till Monday for the mail to come in with all your checks. Because the biggest mail day was always Monday. That's when the most checks come in. And my payroll would get pulled on Tuesday. The payroll company would pull it. So Friday, I would not have enough money in the bank to cover payroll. But I knew the history of my company of saying, well, Monday, I know I get so much in checks, and Monday we'll cover it. Well, the entrepreneur sleeps like a baby all weekend. A non-entrepreneur says, what if I don't get enough checks? Oh my God, I could bounce payroll. I could, all these, and now you can't, the stress can consume you. So it's, people, if you're pursuing money, get a job. If you are pursuing the freedoms of entrepreneurship, if you have an idea that you just want to pursue it, but understand money's a byproduct of achieving your goals with your business. If the goal is money, it's never going to, my company makes money, but our goal is to solve problems. In the military, right. we completely changed the way the military stores and organizes guns because they had significant problems. We see significant problems in consumer firearm storage, and our win is to get people to change the way they think about storing their guns. If we win, America is a lot safer. Doing that will also generate revenue, but I think revenue is a byproduct of laying out a plan and executing against a plan to achieve a result.
Good words. And, you talked about risk tolerance there. Let's go into mountaineering and rock climbing.
Sure.
And talk about, so I personally feel like if people get involved in a sport that they can do safely, but that creates that feeling of danger, that challenge that stretches us and helps us to grow, that we learn how to manage risk better. Maybe we become more risk tolerant. I don't know, maybe. But how did that play out in your own life?
It's interesting because I've always been physically as a kid growing up, doing stuff where you run the risk of getting hurt. Has never been an issue for me. Getting hurt by people or by somebody saying something, or that's always been a bigger concern of mine. Of what do people think? That's, as I was like, I think I've grown past that many, many years ago. But yeah, it's interesting. Because when you're looking at adventure sports, I don't think the people that really get into this stuff think. You do everything you can to be as safe as possible, but you're not thinking about the danger. You're aware that it's there. And you take, and the danger, the implied or the dangers that exist drive you to take the necessary steps to be safe. But like rock climbing, I'm afraid of heights. The first pitch of a rock climb, the first 100 feet, I'm terrified because I can see the spot where I'd hit. But there's a point where you get to a height though, where all of a sudden everything becomes surreal. And now I relax and just can climb. But it always takes me, that first pitch, I'm terrified. But for me, pushing past that, there's no greater feeling than doing something that we're at a point when you're scared and say, I'm not going to let fear stop me. I know, I've got the ropes on me. My partner knows his stuff. We're good. And working through it, because once you get past it, it is such a great win.
So for you, it's a matter of getting past the first pitch and getting into that flow state.
Yeah, then getting into that zone, that's that hyper focus where just the world melts away. And now it's just you, rock, in a rock climbing. Or I used to really enjoy ice as because you're using tool. And I do car restoration. I fix up, and I always love the concept of really cool tools. They're giving you really cool capabilities. And there's there's an organic nature to that whole ice climbing thing with depending on the condition of the ice, there's so many tiny variables that you're working with. But when it all clicks in, it's just cool. There's no words to describe it. It's just really an experience.
If someone wanted to try ice climbing or rock climbing or something like that, what advice do you have for them? Hey friends, I want to take a minute to tell you about Campfire Ranch. My friend Sam started Campfire Ranch several years ago, and his goal, his mission, is to energize places by creating meaningful human experiences in the outdoors. At all of the Campfire Ranch locations, from their campgrounds to trailside lodges to backcountry huts, their goal is to help you stay in the place and in the way that you want so that you can spend more time getting out there and getting after it. Campfire Ranch Little Sugar is a trailside lodge located in Bella Vista, Arkansas, just north of Bentonville, the mountain bike capital of the world. The lodge features 7 private bedrooms with ensuite bathrooms and communal spaces for gathering, meeting with others, and relaxing after a long day on the trails. Little Sugar has immediate access to 160-plus miles of public trails designed for mountain biking, gravel biking, trail running, and hiking, and it also has easy access to the food, art, and music scene of downtown Bentonville. So grab some buddies and go to www.campfireranchdot.co/ASP. That's not .com, it's .co/ASP, and you'll get 15% off nightly base rates at Little Sugar in Bella Vista, Arkansas. And this opportunity is valid all the way through 2026. But you know how these things go. Your weekend is going to fill up quickly, so go right now to campfireranch.co/ASP to plan your big adventure.
I don't. You got to find good people to climb, really, and that's. I mean, I got very lucky in climbing. My business partner was with my first business, Jet Computer. Was her name was Elizabeth, and her boyfriend was Kevin Thaw, who went on to become one of Great Britain's top mountaineers. He and I became very good friends, so I had the opportunity to climb with, he holds speed records in Yosemite, up in the Canadian Rockies. Free solo climbing, he's done it all. And I had the opportunity to climb with him, so for me, it got me into a pretty high level of climbing very quickly.
Yeah,
now,
it would.
You can't always do that, but it's again, if you're interested in rock climbing, find out where the local bouldering area is and go there every day. Lived not that far from San Fernando Valley, had a bouldering area. And I stop every day after work. I just jump out of the car and go boulder for a while. And when you're doing that, you're meeting people, you're seeing people, and you go there, if you're really into it, you go there, 4 days a week practicing. All of a sudden, other people are there, realize this guy's here all the time. Well, you got friendships. Hey, we're going to go do this climb. And you'll make the contacts, but you got to show up every day at entry-level stuff. And even a climbing gym is if you really want to get into climbing, climb 4 days a week. You just find a climbing gym, find bouldering area. If you live in the middle of the Midwest and there's no climbing gym, maybe you want to find a different adventure sport. It's a lot of things have to line up sometime.
I've also heard people say, do it every day, because your body gets into the habit of it, and then your body almost goes into withdrawals if you don't, which is really good for health, because you realize, no, movement makes me feel great, and if I don't move, I feel bad. So I'm going to do the thing, whatever it is, because it becomes a healthy life. But what you just illustrated with the people you meet, people are like, no, this guy's for real. He's always here.
That's the key. The key to business, the key to sports. I run a very successful business, but I didn't do this on my own. I've had more mentors, more coaches, I'm always looking to find people who are far more experienced than I am and can help me and can offer me advice, because, it's too hard to solve all your own problems when there are people out there that have been through the same thing.
Right.
And if you can leverage their experience, it just speeds things up a lot.
Well, you mentioned bouldering and showing up every day, and pretty soon the people recognize you and they're like, hey, dude, we're going to do this thing. You want to be a part of it? How do you do that in the business world? How do you show up every day and find the right people?
You do. The results you notice results over years, not weeks, I think.
Okay.
Not for me. I joined, I'll give you a quick. So my first business, Jet Computer Products, then I had Greenline Data, then I had Securite. All 3 companies grew to about 4 to 5 million in sales in 3 years, all of them. And they all sat at 4 million a year in sales. And Securite had so much potential that there's a point when I realized, this was like 2009, maybe 2008, that, wow, this is my 3rd company. All 3 of my companies do 4 million a year in sales. I must be a $4 million a year person. I'm the common denominator. It's not the business, it's me. I've got a ceiling of 4 million that I can't break through. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to have to change. And I did this just kind of on my own, but I started looking at business coaches. I joined Vistage, which is a CEO peer group where I meet with once a month with about 12 other CEOs of small to medium-sized companies. And we have a speaker, and then we work through helping each other solve problems. But it's really, you're having like 12 business coaches or a board of directors that I meet with once a month. And it was doing all these things to really realize, I was a salesman, I wasn't a CEO. And there's a very big difference. And people in, 99 or 90, was it 93% of all small businesses never get past 4 million? Because that's where one person maxes out. At 4 million, I'm hiring people. I'm doing everything, but I'm hiring people to help me. At 20 million, I'm delegating everything to people to do it, and allows me to operate at a higher level and more brain power. The term, work on the business, not in the business. But that's that big separation is going from involved with everything to delegating it. And that was a hard transition for me. I mean, it's not hard to do. It's just you have to actually do it. I put a big sign on my wall in my office that says, what are you doing that should be delegating? And I hired a guy that I knew who he had sold his company and he was available. I said, Frank, I'm going to hire you for a 2-year contract. Teach me how to be a CEO. You're the number 2 in the company. Teach me how to be a CEO. And he was a hard ass. And it worked out really well. It's Tom, why are you doing that? Delegate it. Well, and he just kept driving it on me. And you think if you delegate everything you do, you'll have nothing to do. But all of a sudden, I'm just doing different things. And the company just started growing. We made Inc. Magazine's fastest growing company twice in 3 years, which making it once is one thing. The second time is hard because you've already at a level where now getting 500% growth is pretty hard as you're getting bigger.
Sure, because your numbers are so much bigger.
Exactly.
So I'm thinking about the entrepreneur who wants a start in the outdoor space, and they're trying to build a company. And they start out with an idea or, maybe they say, well, if I made this gizmo that did this better, then I could sell that. And that's kind of where it starts, I think. But then there's a big difference between being the company and building it around yourself. So if you walk away from it, the company's gone. You are the company in that regard. Or building a company where you could walk away and the company can continue to exist and produce and be productive. How do people make that transition, and how can they make it in a timely?
It's tough. When you look at somebody out there, they want to start a business, they want to develop a product and sell the product. Yeah, I go back to my simplest thing: sell one.
Yeah,
make one, sell one. People have these ideas. If you're gonna make a new widget that does something better than anybody else's, make a small quantity of them and sell them. And if you can't sell one if you're making like a piece of rock climbing, well, if you can't sell it at your local rock where people are rock climbing, don't create a website and go online and think you're going to sell thousands of these to rock climbers. If you can't sell one, and trying to sell your first product's really hard because you don't know how to do it, but you kind of wallow through it and you find and all of a sudden you sell your first one. You're like, okay, cool. Hey, he goes like, tell me what you think. Oh, you love it. That's great. Anybody else like, oh, great. Then you sell your second one, and it pays to go into these things at a micro level because your risk exposure is so little. And new entrepreneurs need to go through that door-to-door salesman phase to if you're product based. There's certain companies that are tech or idea based where they come out of the gate and just at a big scale. That's a whole different thing. That's the investors and all this very complex that I don't even get involved with. I'm a pretty simple.
So what was it about your storage system for firearms that set you apart as we have a better solution? What was the shtick, so to speak?
In the military, it was simplicity. Really, what was happening is they were transitioning from the M16, which is a 39-inch standard rifle, to the M4, which is really a modular weapon system. A lot of attachments. It comes in various sizes. And my competitors were all making modular weapon racks where they'd make a rack, big cast steel cabinet, and they'd have all these different brackets to hold the guns. So that you get the rack, you get the brackets, and boom, it holds everything in the armory, perfectly. And then, 4 months later, they get new equipment or these things change and things start changing. And the military, once they have something installed, they can't easily go out and buy new components. It's just not how purchasing, it's just hard to do. So as things change, their armories, now they've got brackets for a certain rifle, but they no longer have that rifle. They've got these new guns where they're going to use the wrong brackets, and it keeps going. All of a sudden, 5 years later, they've got all these guns and all these cabinets, and nothing fits anymore. So my system has one moving part. It's a patented, we call it the upper cradle, and it holds everything from the smallest submachine gun up to shoulder launch weapon system. It adjusts on the fly with no tools. So an armorer can walk up to my weapon rack, a gun in one hand, open the door, adjust it, store it, and walk away. Whereas my competitors require you to unscrew the brackets. It's a lot of complexity, and we were able to reduce it down to one moving part.
So simple adaptability.
Yeah, simplicity. If you walk into Secure, the big sign on the wall, it's big. It says, "Innovate and simplify." Anybody can solve a problem with a complex solution. Adding layers, make it work. And I think you look at guys like Steve Jobs with Apple. When you look at when the iPad and the iPhone came out, they were successful because of simplicity. There were no buttons. I remember that my first iPad, there's no directions. And just like, well, Tom, just use it. Like, well, there's no directions. Just turn it on. And you start touching it. And all of a sudden you realize, and you're pretty much an expert at it fairly quickly because the interface was so simple.
Yeah, intuitive.
And I look at that in everything we do is, the simplest solutions withstand the test of time. When you create a product that simplifies a problem, that solves a problem by simplifying the issues, you've got a good chance at marketing it. If you've got a product that becomes, I'm not a big fan of things that get complex quick.
Eventually they become the problem instead of the solution.
Well, look at the auto industry. I bought a brand new Ford truck. I drove it home 23 miles. There was a check at the dealership for me. Ford had to buy it back. 23 miles home, and it died, could not start it, and they could not solve the problem.
No.
So Ford bought it back. And I got a new truck. My new truck, the driver's windows is acting goofy now. But the level of complexity in these vehicles is ridiculous. Again, I have a lot of vintage cars. I restore old cars. And I've got a Sunbeam Tiger. I got an old Corvette. You go under the dash, there's 15 wires. That F-150, I saw it with the dash taken apart. There's over 1,000 wires in it. I mean, it's just the level of complexity. And I think it's going to drive certain industries. You're going to see a massive change in the automotive industry. And simplicity will replace complexity. I don't know who the players are going to be yet, but I think a lot of the German guys are going to be gone in 20 years. I don't see them surviving.
My first car was a 1968 Volkswagen Beetle.
Mine was a 71. My wife's was a 72.
There you go.
In fact, I got her a 71.
Talking about simplicity.
Yep. I bought my wife a 71 Volkswagen. It's all restored about 7 years ago for her birthday. And we still have it. And that's
fantastic.
We still take it out for a drive. It's a comfortable car to drive.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun to drive. But the reason I bring it up is because it was designed to be about as simple as you could make a car.
Yep, and it was designed for that reason so that it wouldn't break out of simplicity, and then if it did, it was easy to fix.
Right. Well, speaking of cars, we have to go into the speed sports. I mean, that is an adventure sport as well. You said you raced for several years, but you're also now planning on trying to set a new record at Bonneville.
Well,
what's that about?
We actually achieved our goal in August.
Okay, so you did it in August.
Yeah, we built a Class J land speed car. Now, my car is a 1956 Elmquist Sabre, which nobody's ever heard of it. I have two of them. The first one I found in a field. I bought it for $800. I spent about 12 years on a restoration, and that car ended up winning a class award at Amelia Island, which is probably the number 2 car show in the world. Ends up being a very historical car. Not valuable, but a unique piece of history. It's the car that started the kit car industry. It's the very first car that was marketed, hey, you could build your own sports car, because sports cars didn't exist in America, not like they did in Europe. And this was marketed, anybody can build a sports car. So I got that car done, and a guy had a Sabre body. He said, Tom, I got a body I'm not using. You can have it. I think I gave him $800 for the body. And my guy that helped me restore the car, first one, he's like, what are we going to do with this thing? I don't know. He goes, Bonneville. I'm just like, oh, let's do it. Because as a kid, I remember watching ABC's Wide World of Sports. They'd cover Bonneville once in a while. I remember just as a kid going, what do you need to do in life? End up there doing that. So it took us 2 years to get the car built. It's a Class J sports car. So Class J is a motor 750cc or smaller. So it's the tiniest engine they run at Bonneville.
Wow.
And this,
I mean, motorcycles have bigger than that.
They do. In fact, yeah, we're running a Suzuki GSX 750 motorcycle engine in a sedan with it's got a big Garrett turbo on it and a Heltec EFI system. We can produce 420 horsepower out of that tiny motor. So
that's crazy.
We struggled with the setup of the car, and for the week we were there, but we finally dialed it in. The record was 111. We ran 172 as our top speed. The trap speed was 161, and then you had to do 2 runs. You have to back it up. On my backup run, the spark plugs just melted down, and I managed 113. So the record we have on the books is 141. We'll go back. We're going to wind tunnel the car right now and then get some dyno time with the motor, because we still are nowhere near the max power we can make with the engine. And I want to get over 2. I think we can get about 230 out of the car, which, again, a 750cc car, nobody's ever seen a car that small go that fast. We're actually going faster than the next 2 classes. Next 2, like the 1000cc, we're actually breaking their records too. So it's just a unique marvel of this little car. But it is tiny. It is trying to think what you'd compare it to. It's bigger than a go-kart, but it's one of the smallest cars. Like my little Sabre on the road is one of the smallest road-going cars you'll ever. It is really tiny.
I saw a picture online of one that was royal blue with white stripes.
Yeah, that's the street car, yeah. It looks a little bit like an AC Cobra, but it's 10 years earlier and a lot smaller.
It's a sweet looking ride. I'm telling you, it's beautiful.
I saw the car in a field. It was in eBay. It was a photograph of this thing just rotting in a field, and I threw a bid of $800 on and won it. And it cost me more to ship it. And then it was a long journey. No, it's been both of the cars. I've got the street car now and the race car, and we got invited to the Detroit Autorama, which is probably the biggest car show in the world, in Detroit. And we're going to be bringing both cars. We've got a little fenced off area with a display on the history of the Sabres. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping I can get an audience with Jay Leno and do an episode of Jay Leno's garage. Would be fun.
That would be cool. So in Bonneville, did you drive it?
Yeah, I'm the driver. And I'll tell you what, it's my wife is not happy about that, but. And this goes to a lot of adventure sports, the same thing, because people ask me they think it's nuts. Why do you want to drive this tiny little car? Why do you want to go 200 miles an hour? There's no reason. There's nothing to gain. My response was, you can read about Bonneville. You can watch videos and see movies about guys going to Bonneville. But you don't know what it's like unless you've got behind the wheel of a car and done it. And it's that, I look at life. Life is about experience and experiences. And I couldn't imagine not, getting to the end of my life and not having that experience. Because I gotta tell you something, it's, the first runs, we really were struggling. And we're trying to get this car going. It's not going very fast. And, I'm not worried about speed. I'm worried about screwing up and looking bad in front of all these seasoned racers. And the safety the way they run this is extremely structured. And then our last run, when we finally were getting things dialed in, I said, let's change the rear gearing. Let's do this. Let's do that. All of a sudden, they pushed me off. I get pushed to the truck. I put the hammer down. And all of a sudden, I became aware of oh my God, we're going fast. And my head was pinned to, it's an open, so my helmet is sticking out of the car. I've got a roll cage around me, but my head was pinned against a roll cage. I couldn't move it. And the vibrations, without a pad on my helmet, I couldn't read the dash. I could just barely make out the tack and hit the shift points. And the car was like, I knew if I had any input on the steering wheel at all, I would have spun. So just stay on the tracks.
Keep it straight.
Just drifting to the right. You just kind of or drifting to the left. I'm going, just thinking right, and just leaning on the steering wheel a little bit because you want really light input. And then the run was over, and I looked down, and I'm recording a GPS speed, and it was 172 was our top speed. And we hit the rev limiter on the car. When the rev protects the engine, so it shuts the engine down, I hit the rev limiter at 1.5 miles. I had 2 more miles to accelerate if I had the gear. So had we changed the gearing of the car, we would have gone well over 200 miles an hour. But the whole week there, just the whole learning curve. I had my youngest son with me. He's a car kid, and it was we had a 4-man crew with us. And I had a videographer. We're making a little documentary that should be released on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, probably in about a month. But it was probably one of the most amazing weeks of my life. And it was a lot of downtime, but you're just this group of 4 guys, tiniest car. We're the rookies. We're the, we weren't supposed to go that. And we weren't, a rookie team setting a record is very unusual, but then destroying it. And we because we had the smallest car by far at this thing. And it was a very, very nice looking. We did a really good job at the paint job. So we were just, every time we went anywhere pushing the car around to the track, everybody's out with their cameras photographing. And we just became a very popular, everybody was rooting for us because we were this tiny little team, a very low budget team, coming to this event and kind of shaking the world a little bit. So it's, we made a statement. Now, if we can come back and run 2:30, that's a record that'll be on the books. Nobody's going to beat that record because
not for a long time.
Nobody would spend the time and effort to get a 750cc motor to run a rear-wheel drive car is really hard. It took a lot.
You talked about being in the zone or the flow state when you're rock climbing. When you're in the car, it's for a much shorter period of time, but you have to be hyper-focused to make that work. I mean, you're talking about such a short wheelbase, narrow as well, and to keep that thing from shaking loose on you. Did you get there?
Yeah, you do. It's funny because the first runs we're shaking the car down. We're not going that fast. We're in that 100, 105, and it's really more about figuring the car out. I'm focused on the mission of hitting my shift points, of managing all the tech of the car while I'm driving. Because I had adjustable turbo waist. I had some controls in there. Again, it does happen very quickly. I'm very focused on not making a mistake, doing the things I'm supposed to do, because we're building data on the car. Every run, we download the data, now we tweak and we're changing. So it's like, I want to make sure I'm giving the software guy what he needs. And then once we got it dialed in, you're still in this high level of focus, but it was Mr. Toad's wild ride. All of a sudden, I got this I'm just laughing in the car. I'm just like, holy crap, are we going fast? And it was such a cool win because none of the guys know. They're back there. They push me off, and they're in a truck, and they push me to about 30 miles an hour when I start going. And then they pull off, and they're driving down the side of the track in an access road, so when I pull off, they can tow me back. And they're listening to a radio station. I know that, like, holy cow, this car's on fire. It's going so fast. And I pulled I gave a parachute, I slowed down, pulled off the track, and they came driving up, and they're listening on a radio to the announcer on a little AM station after the track. And they announced the car at 161. Because I could see the 2 guys just flip out in the truck. They were hoping I could get 125.
Wow.
But yeah, it was the whole experience being out there too is just surreal. It's just a beautiful area. You can't describe what it's like to be out on a salt flat until you're there. It was a unique. It's like being on the moon. There was a lot of people there, but it's so spread out, you still feel isolated, which I kind of like. I kind of like our little crew and our little, we had a little pit area, and it was just us, the salt, and getting her done.
That's cool. Hey friends, here at the Adventure Sports Podcast, health is really a priority. That's part of the reason why for over 10 years we've been encouraging people to get out there and have some fun, because when we become more active, it makes us healthier. Our focus on health is one of the reasons that I'm excited about today's sponsor, True Diagnostic. Did you know that your calendar age doesn't always match how old your body truly is? Your biological age, the age of your cells and organs, is actually the number one predictor of your risk for serious diseases like heart disease, cancer, dementia, and more. That's why learning your biological age can be truly life-changing, and that's exactly what the True Age test from True Diagnostic helps you do. It's a simple at-home test. You just prick your finger and then use the provided packaging and a prepaid envelope to send the sample in for testing. No doctor's visits required, no labs, but you'll get great information that can help you to be healthier and understand how you're doing with your own health habits. Now, I always joke that I'm 23 years old. You've heard me say that forever. Obviously, I'm quite a bit older than that, but I'm curious to find out what my biological age is. It's kind of eye-opening when you learn that your biological age, if it's just 5 years older than your actual age, your risk for major diseases can go up by 30 to 50%. That's kind of a wake-up call. But due to epigenetics, and this is the part that really inspires me, up to 90% of biological aging is driven by lifestyle. That means the way that we eat, move, sleep, manage stress, all these things play massive roles in how fast or slow our bodies age. That aligns with the Adventure Sports podcast so much. So I'm taking the test. I'm excited to find out the results. And in addition to my biological age, True Diagnostic also provides a personalized report that's full of science-backed steps that we can all take to slow down aging and improve our health over time. If you care about protecting your health and want to find out what your real age is, head over to truediagnostic.com and use my code ASP to get 20% off your entire order or subscription. That's truediagnostic.com. Use ASP at checkout to get 20% off. Your future self will thank you. Let's go back to the big picture here.
Yeah.
You kind of took the road less traveled by saying, nope, I'm not going to college. You learned how to sell, and you learned how to build a business, and you learned how to make the business something bigger than just your one-man show to get it beyond the $4 million. You learned about risk tolerance. And I have to think that the rock climbing had to play a big role in there. If nothing else, just to clear your head so that the creativity could set in and you could do a better job making the important decisions. And now you're setting speed records in Bonneville. I mean, it's so fun. But can you summarize how adventure sport played into all of this? What did it do for you in a way that might be meaningful?
Well, I think it's the mindset of people who really get into the adventure sports, because the fact that the word adventure is in front of them implies something, that there's an element of unknown. Why is it an adventure sport? Well, it's adventure because there's risks or there's unknown that are going to make it an adventure. Again, you can you can understand the risk, prepare for them, but you got all these pieces. And the way it relates to business is best, and I see this in business all the time in decision making. I always tell people, when you get to the cliff, jump. You will find a spot to land on the way down.
Wow.
But don't stand there and look. But because you've got to make decisions quickly. And in business, and I think in adventure sports, like I like to ski a lot. I like to ski fast. I mean, but I used to ski moguls as a kid. I'm too old to ski moguls now. It just beats me. I get frustrated. So I like to carve big, but you're going quick and at 30, 40, 50 miles an hour on snow, things are coming at you fast and you're making decisions and you have to make the decision because the world's going by you so fast, you have to decide. People in business, you don't have to decide. It's not, again, you can pause at any time and sit in your chair and just read more, learn more, get more. But you know what? When we're looking at decisions all the time, it's just like, guys, I always say, what's the biggest decision you're facing? If they don't have a big decision, you got to dig more into what you're doing. And then, but what's preventing you from making that decision? Is there any other information that's really going to change? No, then make the decision, go. And people need to make decisions quickly. And if you're wrong, course correct. It's nothing wrong with being wrong. We teach, you hit on it briefly at the very beginning, but there's this risk tolerance and winning and losing. And right now we're raising kids like youth soccer, little kids. They don't keep score because they don't want the kids to lose. You know what? That's crazy. You've got helicopter parents that aren't allowing their kids to be exposed to any risk whatsoever. And these kids have no capacity to judge risk, to actually analyze, is the risk real or is it a perception or is it just fear? And they don't have that ability because they've never, when we were kids, we all went out, we set up jumps and jumped our little bikes over ramps and we climbed out. We did all sorts of stuff, but you're learning, there's times when you fall and you get hurt and you're like, okay. But you're learning how to do all these. And I think I guess the point to get to it with that is adventure sports requires, for the most part, quick decision making. You don't have a lot of time. I mean, whether you're rock climbing or skiing, the ones where you're moving, it's coming at you, you got to decide. if you're in business, you need that same mentality of make your decisions fast. If you're wrong, fail fast, because every time you fail, you learn, and keep moving. The other analogy, last one I always give people when I'm talking to like people in my office or just if I'm talking to a group, you're driving down a road. You kind of think you know where you're going. You're not 100% sure. Well, bingo. That's every business you're ever going to run. You kind of think you know where you're going, but you're not 100% sure. Same with adventure sport. You kind of know what this path, like the ski trail is, but you don't really know what can happen. Like, is there somebody falling in front? What's happening in front of you? So you're driving and you come to a fork in the road you didn't anticipate. You have three choices. You can go left, you can go right, or you can stop and analyze it and figure it out. The guy that stops and analyzes it will always be in last place. Don't stop. The two cars that fork off. Well, one's going right, one's going wrong. One that's going right is miles down the road. The one that's wrong realizes it and course corrects and makes a left turn and drives back over and gets back on the correct path. Now they're going. The guy that stopped and is analyzing it, he's in last place, and he always is. And so much in business success comes down to don't be afraid to make decisions quickly. Or when you really got a big decision and you're hemming and hawing, don't get too much information. You probably got enough. Make a decision and commit to it. Or say, you know what, guys, we're doing it this way. And on January 3rd, we're going to evaluate all the parameters. And if we don't like it, we're going to make some changes. But boom, let's go. And that's, we're redoing our website right now. And all these questions, say, no, guys, that's fine. Get it done. That's fine. Get it done. We'll get the site up. Once the site's up, we can monitor so much data. We can make corrections if we have to.
Then you can optimize.
Don't spend 2 weeks to make a decision that you can make in 2 hours. And
it's so much more important to get something out there and see how it performs, I think. And Tom, you're the first person that I remember that answered that question in that way. That adventure sports, it was about being decisive.
Well,
and
you
have to make the decision or you're going to crash and burn.
While I was talking through that, I was realizing maybe the appeal of adventure sports for those who really like to participate in them, it's forced decision making. You don't have a choice. You can't procrastinate when you're going 42 miles an hour down a steep hill with some moguls in it. You're so dialed in, or you're going to be on your butt sliding.
You got to take your best shot, or you're going to be in trouble.
That's also why I think you see a lot of people in adventure sports. They do well, I've seen a lot of successes. I mean, again, you always hear about successes, but I think it's that. It's quite possibly that decision-making is the difference.
I like that. That's a beautiful place to wrap it up, Tom. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
How can people learn more about your business? Where can they find you?
Just Google my name or Google Secure-It is my company. Secure-It Tactical is a company, but we're all over the web. So just the word Secure-It as one word will find my company. Google my name, and there's enough stuff out there on social media about what I do and what we do. But so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well,
man, it's how long we've been talking? Like an hour, right?
We've been doing an hour. We're exactly an hour right now, Tom.
it's always
we could go another hour without any trouble.
You want to speed up time. Get involved in a good podcast conversation because we started talking about 12 minutes ago, and now it's been an hour.
That's exactly right. It is a lot of fun, Tom. And for everyone out there who needs to hear it again, it's Kubiniec and Secure-It. Secure-It Tactical.
SecureItGunStorage.com is our website.
Okay. And hey, thanks. I love to talk to people who said, I'm doing it my way, and you made it into something fantastic. So congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
You bet. So everyone out there, I love Tom's idea that adventure sports force us to be decisive. And that's really, really cool. So another way that adventure sports can benefit you. So whatever your sport is, make sure you keep doing it every day. Get out there and have some fun.